I live at 174 Eagles Club Drive in Stockbridge. I grew up visiting in Stockbridge often at the homes of my mother's two wonderful sisters, Sarah Grant and Ruby Gardner. In later years, I lived just up the street while my two sons attended both Stockbridge Junior and Senior High Schools. During that time, I was very active in PTA, supporting my sons, both Stockbridge Junior and Senior High Schools, in the many activities connected. Recently, when my sons and I learned of the possibility of a name change for Lee Street, our blended response was something like, wow, that would be a shame. Just seeing the street sign brings back a flood of happy memories and funny stories for the many hundreds of former students, most of which involved various students from time to time, and the one and only senior high school principal, Coy Pridmore, who will forever and always remain the legend of Lee Street. Most of all, I support the owners of Affairs by Pinehurst Catering, whose business we have all enjoyed and benefited from for many years. They have respectfully asked that you do not vote for the street name change. What might have sounded like a good idea when brought up for discussion, exploring it has proven that is unfavorable to many residents. Therefore, I hope you will respect your constituents and vote no when the vote is called. Thank you all, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to speak on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Neal. Please state your name and address, please.
Yes, my name's Marvin Gross. I live on 115 North Lee Street. From Stockbridge, my family's been here 80-something years. And my house over here was built in the early 60s, brick house. It stood the test of time on that street with that North Lee Street name. I don't want the name changed to anything. I don't care if it's Martin Luther King or Donald Trump. I mean, it doesn't make any difference to me. It needs to stay what it's always been. It's going to cost, some money for the city, I'm assuming, to change the signs and do different things. It'll cost residents some money because you'll have to change your driver's license, and I'm assuming we have to change the street numbers because they're the same numbers, some of them on South Lee as they are North Lee. So it just doesn't make sense to me, to change it at all. Like I say, I'm not opposed to necessarily to the name that it wants to be changed to. I'm just opposed to changing it, period. I don't really understand why we're doing it. My research and what I was taught growing up, it was named after the Lee family. Now, I've read where some people think it's named after Robert E. Lee, but I don't know. I can't find that. I wasn't taught that. I don't know. We went to school here, and I don't know anything about all that mess. None of that went on with us and my friends, so I don't really know about all that. But I know that it, in my opinion, doesn't need to change. I realize there's not a whole lot of people that live on the street on North Lee. My house was it was built there. It wasn't brought in. There were some houses on that street. That other brick house there was actually brought in. But it's not going to affect a whole lot of people there, I don't guess. But it definitely affects me. I don't get involved with politics much. I don't like to. I don't like politics a lot, to be honest. It's a lot of arguing, and I don't like to argue. So, but this affects me directly, and I could not say anything. Y'all gonna do whatever it is you're gonna do, I guess. But I can tell you, the people I know don't want it to happen, and I've never come up in here before. And there's been a lot of things happen in Stockbridge I wasn't necessarily in agreement with, but it's where I live. I used to be real proud of this place, but Not as much anymore, to be honest with you, with the crime and, just different things that's happened because of the growth. But
Thank you so much, Mr. Gross. That's your time.
all right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Appreciate you listening.
Mayor and council, Corn Michael Randazzo, 111 Bryant Street. Renaming Stockbridge's Lee Street to MLK Jr. Way may appear progressive, but the city's dishonesty about why it was renamed undermines the true honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy. The street wasn't named after Robert E. Lee, but rather the local Lee family of Stockbridge. By claiming otherwise, the city created a false narrative that devalues both historical truth and Dr. King's memory. The deception matters because Dr. King fought for truth and justice throughout his life. He believed in honest reckoning with history, not convenient fabrications. When a city lies about why a street needs renaming, it suggests that the change is more about political optics than genuine commitment to equality. Dwell magazine documented streets named after MLK across America will have become battlegrounds for equality rather than thriving communities. In St. Louis, where Mr. Melvin White founded Beloved Streets of America, Dr. Martin Luther King Drive cuts through neighborhoods filled with abandoned buildings and vacant lots, hardly the vibrant community King envisioned. Symbolic renaming without substance fails to honor what Dr. King stood for. He fought not just for recognition, but for economic justice and community prosperity. Stockbridge has already demonstrated a willingness to prioritize narrative over prosperity. Dr. King's life was built on integrity and honest confrontation of America's failures. Honor requires more than a new sign. It demands honesty about history, commitment to action. Without these, renaming Lee Street becomes another example of honoring the civil rights icon with words while neglecting the substance of his life's work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please come up, say your name and address, please.
Hello, Brandon Dubs, 118 Lake Terrace, Stockbridge. I'm Brandon Dubs. My parents, Linda and Chuck Dubs, and I have run Affairs by Pinehurst Catering and Events over on South Lee Street for over 30 years. That address isn't just a dot on a map. It's where we raise families, fed communities, and turn strangers into regulars. I'm not here to fight change. I understand Stockbridge wants to grow. New names, new schools, new energy. I'm all for it. But I'm asking you to stop, maybe pause, and reconsider that the names have been here for a long time. We moved here around 47 years ago. Give or take 40 plus years ago, my mom started a catering business. 30 years ago, she thought Stockbridge was worth investing in. So she bought this piece of property on South Lee Street. We turned it into an events facility. We've had many weddings, many events, many things that have gone on there that I hope have brought a lot of fond memories for people. This isn't about the name of the street. This is about hardworking people that have put their time in. And yeah, they'll have to reprint cards, and they'll have to rewrite ads, and they'll have to change addresses, and they'll have to get in touch with Google Maps and GPSs and all that kind of stuff to make sure that when you have these out-of-town people that come in for whomever's wedding, they know where they're going. That's why we're asking you just to reconsider. We believe in Stockbridge. We believe investing in the community, and we hope that with that, people will vote no on this.
Mary Brown, 115 North Lee Street. Thank you for having this opportunity for the citizens to come out today and speak to you all. Some of the people here, I'm not real sure. I was born and raised in Henry County, the north end of Henry County, so Stockbridge High School was my school before it became the alternative school, just so y'all know. I'd like to just say that Lee Street has always been a part of our life. That's where we went to school. That's where everybody knew where the Tasty Freeze was and all that stuff. You just go down to Lee Street. So to change it, to me, is taking a part of history away. Sorry.
I would like to make a suggestion that instead of changing the name, I'm really sorry, I didn't realize I was going to get upset. Instead of changing the name, why don't you guys consider a beautiful bronze plaque or to go out front? You can put it at either one of the entryways or both entryways. It would be less financial drain on the people who live on these streets, some of which are elderly on fixed incomes, having to change their addresses and stuff for their business. To be honest, street signs disappear. Kids damage them. But a bronze plaque is something that would honor Dr. Reverend King and let him know, or let the people know that it was named after him. It would be something that the city, I guess, would pay for, but the citizens would not have to come out of pocket and pay for that. I've seen those plaques. They're absolutely gorgeous. And I think that that would give the recognition that would warrant something like that, and it wouldn't cause the disturbance with the citizens that are living on that street. So I'm asking you tonight to vote no on the name change. I'm so sorry. Lord have mercy. Y'all aren't filming this, are you?
Thank you so much, Ms. Brown.
What I'm going to read to you is a little background.
Mr. Dubs, say your name and address for me, please.
I'm sorry. Chuck Dubs. Address is 108 South Lee Street in Stockbridge. That's our business location. Give you a little history of how Lee Street actually became. Former Stockbridge Mayor R.E. Lee and his wife Mildred, a longtime Stockbridge elementary school teacher, lived in their home on the hill directly across the street from Stockbridge Elementary and later Stockbridge Junior High and high schools. Official minutes obtained from the historic Stockbridge City Council meetings indicates Lee was mayor of the quiet little sleepy town for over 2 decades, okay? In the early to mid 1900s, R.E. Lee was a Stockbridge leader who would ultimately become the city's mayor, who literally electrified Stockbridge. He was the mayor who physically brought the city into the electric future where tons of thousands of residents currently call their home. Eventually, the city council later chose to name the quiet little dirt road after Stockbridge's leading family, Lee Street. The street wouldn't be paved until 1968. Another of the many reasons Stockbridge has become the bustling city is today was because 100 years ago, R.E. Lee, as noted in the city council minutes, committed the city to a partnership with the state and county in paving Highway 42 for the first time. That's quite a feat. Currently, the Stockbridge mayor and those who serve on the Stockbridge City Council have a proposal to rename Lee Street. This would sadly erase the historical Lee namesake from our North Henry County community. This family worked together for years and years for the enhancement of the quality of for those, who chose Stockbridge as their home then and now. As a longtime Stockbridge community resident who traveled St. Lee or South Lee Street, attending school and school-related events and activities for decades, and yes, even having Mrs. Lee as a teacher, I respectfully ask the mayor and those who serve on the city council to not rename Lee Street, for such action would forever erase historical value along with the honor bestowed upon the Lee family and its descendants. All right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dubs.
You're welcome.
Item number 7 is the street name change for North Lee Street and South Lee Street. Consideration of a resolution to change the names of both North and South Lee Street to Martin Luther King Jr. Way. This action is intended to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King while aligning the corridor with a name that reflects the community's historical and cultural values. Mr. Anderson.
Okay. The purpose of this proposal is to name a street within the city of Stockbridge limits to honor and commemorate the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. and his contributions to the heritage of the city. Rationale to recognize the contribution of Martin Luther King to the city, in addition to already recognizing and commemorating the contribution of Martin Luther King Sr., to provide a more familiar and unifying name to his street, which has high visibility due to its location near City Hall and the amphitheater. Here's an aerial photo of the Lee Street area, both North and Lee Street. Background information on Lee Street. Staff did research, and the earliest reference of Lee Street appears in 1949 City Council meeting minutes. It is true, there's a lot of information out there that states that the street was named after General Robert E. Lee, but that's not the case. When staff did its research, we found out that the street was named for a former City of Stockbridge mayor. And there was a commemoration memorial to the former mayor, R.E. Lee, back in 1952. I can't see. Okay.
I can't see that. I need
Yeah,
to
let me
see
try to
this.
let me try to increase that.
Can I get somebody, is IT here for me, please? Okay, I see it. I
You see it now?
Now scroll over.
So you see, from our research, we found that it was a commemoration to the former mayor in 1952. The street was named after him.
Where? This is Perry Ward. Where's R.E. Lee? And the reason why I say that, because I was doing research and I couldn't find it, but I read a lot of the comments, and I do want to, do my research. So, but I'm saying, I don't see it.
Let me try to highlight it. Let me see.
I can go on to Muni Code. You said it was in the minutes of the meetings?
Yes. You come to my. I can't. It's in this document. I can't blow it up. Can you blow it up?
You'll be able to see the meeting minutes on the Stockbridge website for the city clerk, and the city clerk minutes at the February 19th minutes for 1952. And
Okay.
you'll be able to read the entire document, which is a memorial to the former Mayor R.E. Lee upon his passing on February the 3rd. And it outlines all of the significant things that he did for the city of Stockbridge during his tenure from 1927 to 1932.
Okay, thank you. I'm trying to pull it up now. I don't see it, but I want to, I don't see the name. But I see Mr. Lee's Last Dreams. I see something. I do.
I can't blow it.
Where is it? I saw it. Going down, going down. Okay. Mays and carried by vote, council requesting city clerk to write a memorial to the memory of our beloved mayor, honor R.E. Lee, and that it be spread upon the minute, and that a copy be sent to the family of the deceased, which reads as follows. Scroll over to the next page. I want to read it. I want to see for myself. Scroll up. Some of us think back in the days that we struggled with the Georgia Power Company trying to get electricity into our little city. After this was secured, he went to struggling for a paved road on highway through our town. And after this was accomplished, he went to work trying to get a waterworks system in town, which required several years of work and study, but was finally accomplished and completed, and the water was turned on May 15, 1949. He was very happy over the success. In the year of 1950, he went on to work to get natural gas distribution systems in the city, and on January 16, 1952, a franchise was granted to the Newton County Gas Corp, and an application was made for a surplus of 64 million cubic feet of gas per day, which is flowing through the line that is not being used. The application was made to the Transcontinental Pipeline Company, which has presented before the Power Commission in Washington, D.C. on January 16, 1952, but was put off until March 3rd. We trust this application will be accepted as it was Mr. Lee's dream. We realize that we're going to miss him in many ways, and especially in our city affairs. He always had the welfare of others in mind, and he was ever mindful of a supreme being. He stood for the right to the best of his judgment, and we trust our loss in his eternal gain. To the family, we wish and express our heartfelt sympathy to you and your loss, and we pray God's richest blessings upon each of you along life's way. And if we can serve you in any way, we'll be happy to do so. We are. The clerk was instructed to write Mr. Ray Lambert a letter of thanks for the stone and the time he spent on the cemetery the day that Mr. Joseph Mann was buried, and also thank them for many favors he had done for the city. Also, the clerk was instructed to write Mr. J.O. Cohen, County Commissioner, a letter of thanks for works he had done recently in our little city. Upon a motion by Perry G. Foster and seconded by A.P. Ward and carried by a vote of council requiring all citizens to have a garbage can with a lid in designated place for it to be located. Also requiring citizens who have livestock of any kind such as hogs, cows, chickens, ducks, geese, dogs, or any other. Next page. Next page. The letter. Well, it didn't say a street,
Right, come to the mic.
but I mean, there's a street named Lee Street, so it could very well be after, but it doesn't say that in this, in the minutes.
There's no significant, and there's no real indication that it was actually named specifically for Lee Street. But that is the oral history of the city of Stockbridge, that was him. Because Lee
Where did
Street
you
is first
get the
identified.
oral history from?
We've got that from other places online, but it was not something that we could.
Where did you get it from?
There is a couple of websites that we were able to find where they're talking about the oral history and the oral history of it, but we couldn't put that here because it's something that's not citable. And because what we have to do, we have to put here what we can prove.
So to confirm, you're basically saying Lee Street is not named after anybody. It's
Street
just
is
Lee
not-
Street.
Yes, this is the history, and this is the closest reference to Lee Street and its association with the name Lee.
Turn your mic on.
There's no
For
stated.
that first day that Lee Street became a postal.
1949.
That's the first mention of it in the city of Stockbridge meeting minutes. Lee Street is in 1949.
Immediately after this.
Yes, no, this is actually prior to this, because this was noted in 1952. He died February 3rd, 1952. He was still in office when he passed away. Lee Street was an active street prior to him becoming deceased as well, but it's assumed that it's named after his family and himself because of all of the dedication and hard work he did to the city.
Thank you. Any other questions from council?
Yes,
Go ahead,
if
sir.
I could, please. In situations like this, emotions are high. We got to have facts. We can't have you come to the podium and definitively say something, and we don't have the facts. We have to do that because what we based this on was the previous clerk, Ms. Holliday, had done the research and told us. Once we were trying to change a bunch of Confederate names in the city, this was one of them. But it's not the only reason that we want to change the name. It's because of the legacy and the dynamic history that we're trying to do. But what I'm trying to say to you is, please, when you come to that microphone, we got charged emotions in here. We got to have the facts. What you just stated as fact to us right now was not fact. And we need to operate now here is on facts, because what you stated was the staff has discovered that, and that is the fact. That is not the fact, because and then what I don't want us to do is to rely on Wikipedia, where anybody can put data into there, and then oral history where someone could say this, that, or the other. Let's rely on the facts, because motions are charged. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Barber.
Thank you, Mayor. Lee Street, North and South Lee Street, is within the city council district that I represent. I wanted to make it clear for the record, this is not an initiative that I brought forward. This is not a priority of City Council District 4. This was an idea that Mayor Pro Tem Alexander brought forward. We now know it is not a fact that Lee Street is named after the Confederate general. We have facts right in front of us. What I ask my councilmates is to please show compassion, as this is a very sensitive topic for those who have rich history here. I ask my councilmates to please keep in mind, we must preserve our city's history, good and bad. I do not support the renaming of Lee Street at this time, not because I don't support renaming it in the future. Our city needs a thorough and robust strategic plan on how we will grow and reimagine the future of our downtown. It seems like there are ideas that are just being thrown against the wall, and it's just fragmented. I would much rather for the council to task staff with bringing back to us a real vision on how we will develop and reimagine our downtown. Changing a street name is just not something that we should be gung-ho about right now. We're going against the desires and concerns by approving this of the residents who have expressed their concerns here. So those are points that I want my councilmates to consider. I will not be in support of this. And what else I want to make for the record? I believe city staff, initially, they brought us back the research. I believe the Downtown Development Authority Board are also one of the ones who are driving this request. All of our city's boards and committees are recommending boards. The governing body makes the final decisions.
Is that all, Councilman Barber?
No, one more. Okay, so our city already has a MLK Street. I don't want there to be another MLK naming of a street in my district. I am hopeful that my councilmates will be respectful. I am duly elected to represent this district. As you can see, there are homeowners and other stakeholders who are here who are upset. This is a very sensitive topic, so I ask you all to please let's table this so that we can have a broader discussion on how we will reimagine our downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to have, I see your hand, sir. When I open up public comments, you all can then speak. I'm going to let Councilwoman Gant finish her comments, and I'm going to let you finish your presentation. Okay?
Thank you. So I don't see where there was any mention of naming Lee Street after the Mayor Lee Street. There might need to be some, we need to do some research and history on mayors and people anyway. What I've noticed is when I do a lot of research, it's kind of hard. We really don't have, I remember Mike Moon did some research at one point. I remember a couple of people having research done, but we really don't have anything concrete, like a real history, a book or anything about Stockbridge that we can just go off of. And we may, but if they do, y'all can let me know. But one of the things I want to clarify is that was stated. I wasn't in support of changing the name of Lee Street because it was supposedly Confederate. No one told me that. That wasn't it. I didn't think of it as a Confederate street. It was just called Lee Street, right? People are removing Confederate statues or whatever they're moving. That's a different topic. That wasn't my thought process. So with all due respect, one council member's opinion of the street isn't everybody's opinion of the street. I was only saying, okay, we can honor Martin Luther King, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on a STEM school street, or we can, honor a scientist or whomever, because there's not a lot of houses on the street and not a lot of businesses on the street. And at the time, I honestly, in 2023, I thought Pinehurst was put up for sale. And I looked on there and it says that it's still up for sale. So, and it wasn't being operated. So I was like, you know what? There's not a lot of businesses or anything being affected. Not that it was anything to do with a Confederate or Yankee or whatever you want to say. That wasn't my thought process. So I just want you guys to know that it wasn't about that. It's more so about attracting people to downtown, creating a history and a narrative, talking about some of the things that we had to do in order to get that history and narrative here. Pastor Mike Moon actually was one of the people who spearheaded it with Councilman Alfonso Thomas, and they didn't do it here in City Hall. They did it over in Burke Street, at 107 Burke Street, at my old law firm. We were in the conference room trying to figure out and speak with the King family to keep everything on a hush, because some people didn't want people to know that Daddy King originated or was born and raised here in Stockbridge. I was an attestation to that. I was actually here. It wasn't me, it was Mike Moon, Pastor Mike Moon, and oh God, if I wouldn't have thought of his name right then, his cousin. What's his cousin name? Alfred was there. Alfonso Thomas was there. Sam, there were quite a few. So this has nothing to do about that. It's all about creating a tourist place for the father, Daddy King, and his family. That's what we were trying to create along with that thing in my head. So I just want you guys to know that. And I'm looking over here based off of, it kind of skips and jumps the minutes. It didn't even say what they actually did besides give a letter of recognition for what was done. But it didn't say, but the street was already here. Lee Street was still there. I don't know if Robert, it would be interesting to know if he lived on that street, right? You can tell me in a minute in public comments, but just know that this has nothing to do with Confederate soldiers to me.
Once we put the legal ad out and sent out the public notification, we received several calls from residents stating that the street was named after the former mayor, and staff tried hard to research to find that exact information, but we felt for the sake of transparency that could be a possibility, so we included that information in this presentation, that there was a former mayor named Lee in the city of Stockbridge.
There's probably a former mayor named Mays and or Gant or whoever, but that doesn't mean they named after me.
That's true.
These are common names. Mm-hmm. You have to give me something else. Burke, I need some history. Like we know Strickland, I'm just saying there has to be some more. There's no art. Normally, a street named after a person has their full name or their initials, right? It'll be R.E. Lee or L. Gant. Make sure y'all do my whole initial. I don't want nobody saying mine. But what I'm saying to you is, and I use that to, Judy Neal, right? It would have, or J. Neal, it would have something that indicated that that's what it's for. This is common, right? A. Ford, A.S. Ford. I mean, that's what it would do. We're talking about, we're grasping for straws, and I'm getting a little upset. So.
I'm going to allow you to finish your presentation, Mr. Anderson.
That's it.
Okay, you're done?
Yeah.
Any other? Okay, I have two questions.
Yeah.
We'll pass it over to Councilman Cloud and then back to Councilman Berry. Go ahead, sir.
Yep, so just for clarification purposes, the mayor who we feel like, who we feel like, that we're speaking of passed away after our first record of research that the Lee Street was named, right?
Yes.
Did I ask that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. So for the public to hear this, I guess in the time period of this research, did we exhaust all the measures that we could to validate this street?
Well, we put it in there. I mean, we're not saying that it was named after him. We're saying that there's there is a possibility.
Right.
We're saying we couldn't find anything that was named after General Robert F. Lee.
Right.
So we just put this information, we include this information in this presentation for the sake of transparency, because we got several calls from residents stating that it was named after the former mayor. Staff did research trying to find that information, and we did the best we could, and we found what we did, so we included in the presentation just to bring that up to council for the sake of transparency.
So the biggest part of that was that we exhausted the measures that we could to do that research.
Yes, we did the best we could, yes.
Is Lee Street the original name for the street?
It first appeared in 1949, so I'm not sure. We couldn't find any research indicating that it had a previous name.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bear?
Yeah, thank you, first of all, to everybody who's in your patience, and I know we got a lot of, personal connections to this, as it should, for those who live here and not. I think the point of this is that when the history is being debated and discussed, that we really owe ourselves to do the due diligence to make sure that we have the history correct. When you look at General Robert E. Lee, or any Confederate general, but him in particularly, he passed in 1870. 1870. This street began in 49, which is
No.
1949.
No, that's the first mention.
That was the first
Well,
mention.
the first mention of it is in 49. Let me finish. And so, the city itself started in 1920. 1920, which is 50 years after the death of General Robert E. Lee as well. I'm not saying either side is factual or incorrect, but what I do know is we don't have enough information to say one side or the other is correct or wrong. And when you don't have that information, and a lot of times with our history in the South, period, it's verbal. We didn't write a lot of stuff down. It was passed along word of mouth. It was story told. It was, generational conversations. And so with these wide gaps, right, you have a Confederate general who died in 1870. You have a city that began in 1920. You have a road that began another 30 years after that around 1950. These are huge gaps. These are huge gaps that we can't account for. And we have a responsibility to get to the bottom of it as best as we can. I don't think we're going to do it tonight.
Yeah.
I don't think we have the ability to do it tonight, but I do know we owe the citizens who live on this street, the business owners who work on this street. There's too much of a discrepancy for us to be able to make a decision tonight. We need to do the right thing and do more information and more fact finding and more digging.
Yes, so,
One more question from council.
It's not a question, Mayor. I want to make a motion.
A motion?
Yes.
Well, I need to open up public comments.
Oh, okay.
At this time, I'll now open up public comments for constituents or members in the audience who are in favor of the name change to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Way. Please come forward, state your name and address, please.
Anthony, 4708 Lily Glen Lane, of course, right here in Stockbridge, and I know it's March 9th. My previous comments said the wrong date. I will tell you, in my last 12 years of my life, as I traveled around the state, whether the Atlanta metro area, around the state, even people outside the state, I talked to one I live in Stockbridge, and I mentioned about the ancestral home of the King family. They don't know. They didn't realize it. A lot of folks don't realize, even African Americans or other diverse communities don't realize that. So I think it's great that we embrace that ancestral piece of this particular city and the King legacy. Now, obviously, we have Martin Luther King Senior Heritage Trail on the west side of our downtown area. Once approved, if this is approved, this would be Martin Luther King Jr. Way on the east side. And we're looking at developing a downtown area itself, so you have both these wonderful men of the King legacy on both sides of the downtown area. Now, actually, I would say to you, I'm thinking that you have, if it's approved, you have the amphitheater right there, you have a courthouse, a police headquarters, and then if you go further down, then you'll have the new STEM school right adjacent to this. I'm assuming this will go all the way to Rockroy Road. If that's the case, both of these gentlemen's street names, if approved, would touch Rockroy Road, which is also connects to the legacy of the King family, because Daddy King's father, as I understand, worked at Rock Quarry many, many years ago, well over 100 years or so ago. I will tell you that This is a way to continue to market the city for its growth, for its historical aspect upon approval. Now, there were some suggestions made earlier about maybe having a plaque or something at both ends. That's something for you all to think about if you want to do that. And if this is approved, maybe you think about any compensation for the residents on the street in reference to the type of name change or type of things they have to do in reference to whatever personally in that aspect. That's something to think about if that's legally, if you can do that. And that might be help out the situation. On that note, thank you for listening. God bless you. And once again, Stockbridge, where community connects.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ford. Mayor Pro Tem, you had to add something?
Yeah, let me just say this real quick. I certainly appreciate everybody and the time. I appreciate everything that we've had conversations to go over this. But the one thing that we haven't talked about, and I'm glad you came to the mic, Mayor, was the actual vision. The vision came from the DDA, and what the plan includes is right by the police department, you have Municipal Park. Municipal Park now, for some reason, has a Statue of Liberty in the middle of it, right? Not sure why that decision was made. We have taken it upon ourselves, and the DDA will be sending forward a resolution to the city council to put a statue of Daddy King at that location and to change that location usage to, so every day when students come to the STEM school, they will pass by the statue of Martin Luther King Sr. every single day. And when people traverse the city of Stockbridge, they'll cross over Martin Luther King Senior Heritage, and they will pass by Martin Luther King Jr. Way, and they will not be able to pass it without seeing the statue of Daddy King right there, right across from the Justice Center, right across from the police department, symbolically creating a vision of justice. Now, we've been in conversations with the STEM school so that we would have, and I'm going to make this quick, that we will have a multi-use trail that runs along the railroad tracks between Martin Luther King Way and then Martin Luther King Senior Heritage Trail, connecting the King legacy, where you will have the church, where you will have the statue connected to Floyd Chapel Baptist Church, where people can actually walk the trail between the statue, the STEM school, and Floyd Chapel Baptist Church. That is the vision. And as Ms. Gant said, that wasn't the only reason that we were changing it. We were changing it because of the symbolic STEM school coming up. And certainly we wanted to have that be the branding of downtown. And as the mayor has indicated, and I'm closing in 15 seconds, we will have Martin Luther King Jr. Way on one side. You will have Martin Luther King Senior Heritage on the other side. And this will be a location like none other, because some of the times they put it in undesirable areas. But this will be the best Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard Way in the country, with a $70 million STEM school on one side and the amphitheater on the other side. We're putting it in the best area in the city, not necessarily a depressed or necessarily diverse area. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak in favor of the name change? Final call for anyone wanting to speak in favor. Right. Anyone that would like to speak oppose? Okay, come up. State your name and address, please.
Michael Randazzo, 111 Bryant Street. This is from the Henry County Weekly in 1900. There was a function. Those present were Melissa Edna Hightower, Mary Hightower, Lily Clark, Ruth Upchurch, Annie Lee, Annie Ellis, Messrs. R. Walter Hightower, Ben Hightower, Homer Harrell, Richard Lee, and Oliver Ellis. From the Henry County Weekly in 1880. Dr. Hightower is riding all night and day and says he has more calls than he can attend. Hightower and Lee together have a nice assortment of dry goods and groceries, which they will sell cheap for cash and for good notice. Now, one note, the Hightower house was 117 East Atlanta. Now, the oldest history comes from 1921. It's written by Mr. A.G. Harris about Old Zoar Church. The church, one among the first in the county, was located 5 miles north of McDonough on the McDonough-Atlanta Road. That's East Atlanta now. The church was organized about 1835. 1 acre of land was deeded to the trustees Matthew Gilbert, Benjamin Crabb, and Alan E. Johnson by Owensby. and the preacher in charge at the time was A. Dorman. The writer attended school at this place in the 1850s, with some prominent young men. Among them was Dr. Raleigh Hightower Hospital, B.S. Eliot, Silas Walker, Chick Spears, Silas and Robert Ogilvy. All of these have passed over the river. Some of the pretty and attractive girls of the day who attended school were Miss Sis Smith, Miss Tommy Glass, that's both Sheriff Glass's sisters, or aunts, or great-grandmothers. Miss Missouri Glass, Miss Jenny Walker. In 1884, Zoar Church was moved to Flippin, where it still remains in the Stockbridge Circuit. I probably do not have time to find the other one. Bear with me, please. Executor sale. One house and lot in the town of Stockbridge, said state and county, containing 1/2 acre more or less, bounded north by a lot of J.T. May, east by Thurman Askew, south by Miss Sally Lott, west by Lee Street. West by Lee Street, 1918. Also vacant lot, fronting 50 feet on, and it doesn't say the street, bounded north by a lot of J.W. Hightower, east by a lot of Miss Pearl King, south by a lot of M.P. Lee, south by a lot of M.P. Lee, west by street. Sold for purpose of distribution. 1879. All persons hereby notified that 4 weeks after the date application will be made to the Court of Ordinary in Henry County for leave to sell certain mill property, to wit, Lee's Mill, situated, lying, and being in the original 12th district of said county, the same being a portion of a lot of land said district, upon which now resides one James Gilbert, belonging to the state of Samuel Lee, 1879.
Thank you. Sir, that's your time. Thank you
Thanks,
so
sir.
much. Any other comments against? Name and address, please.
Brandon Dubs, 118 Lake Terrace. The place of business that we have that's on Lee Street, I think it's like one of the only places of business besides the concrete place that's over there on that side. Before it was a place of business, from our understanding, it's one of the oldest houses in Stockbridge. Mrs. Lee was a teacher at Stockbridge. She lived in that house. Her husband raised cattle in that house. Believe it or not, when we took and brought all that place down and tried to remodel it, there was big barns out there, and it was a pasture right over next to where that apartment was. So, yeah, apparently he died in the field. I'm assuming that is the same Lee, but the coincidence of the Lee who we're talking about that was the mayor that did all these things that helped bring Stockbridge into the fine feature it is now. There might be consideration to look into it a little bit more, I would say.
I did a title search, and I didn't see that being the same name, Lee. But go ahead. I was trying to pull stuff too.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to knock it. I just couldn't find it. If somebody can find it, fine.
Counsel, let me let him finish.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was the impression that we had, and that was the impression as far as like his wife had taught school there forever, and we'd ran into people that had dealt with her and how she used to raise dogs there and all this kind of stuff, and I don't know. But anyway, like you were saying, maybe it's a little more consideration to find out if the facts are the facts before any big decision has been made. Okay. And I am excited about the STEM school. I hope it's good for everybody in the community.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you. Any other comments against? Final call. Come on, sir.
Mayor.
1 second.
Okay, when we finish, I'm gonna make a motion.
Sure.
Chuck Dubs, 108 South Lee Street. You had a question about the authenticity of the address. The information I read to you was done by Steve Cash, who used to be involved in the city council here. These minutes are taken from the city council meeting that he was named mayor and the street was named after him. It was a dirt road at first, and then they paved it. So it's his street. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
There's no question as to them being named after him. None. Council meetings, that's where it came from.
Okay.
All right?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And let me ask you a question. Why Martin Luther King Jr.?
Sir, the public comments, you address me.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, why Martin Luther King Jr.? Why not Patrick Henry?
We'll
Why? Tell me why.
Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor Pro Tem.
My question is, answer my question. Why Martin Luther King Jr.?
You give us all your questions, and then we'll answer when your remarks are over, because you're on a timer, so we want to give you as much time as possible to say all your
I
questions.
don't need any more time. I just wanted that question. Why?
He'll answer it when I recognize him. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm sorry.
Close the
Hold on.
public hearing.
What's the time? Okay, I have one more public mention against. Got you.
I just said why.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Marvin Gross, 115 North Lee Street, Stockbridge. I'm hearing some conversation about, maybe negatively about MLK being the name. I don't know that should be the reason. I mean, the Kings, obviously they're honored, not just in Stockbridge, but there's a national holiday. He did a lot of great things. That's obvious. The Lees, Ann Hightowers, and lots of other ones in Stockbridge did a lot of great things for Stockbridge, not for the world, but for Stockbridge. One of the Lees, and I don't know the name, but was very instrumental about bringing the electricity and the water here, which obviously is very important. The street that we're talking about on North Lee Street, it got paved in 1968, I believe, 7 or 8, I'm not sure, because it was a dirt road when I was to begin with, and it was muddy a lot. I can guarantee it. I played in it, so I know. But again, I don't want it changed to nothing. Just leave it the same. And everything you said, somebody said about the statue, changing the whatever's up there now and all that, it sounds really good. I'm not against that at all. I just don't want to change the names of the streets through there because it's been that way for so long, and it just will affect us, that's all. I just, and the kids and all that, obviously they're going to be affected by where they go to school and the people around them and the statue and everything Stockbridge is trying to do, I understand. But I just don't see why we have to eliminate that part of our history here in Stockbridge. Thank y'all.
All right, thank you. I've now closed the public hearing. Go on to a few more council remarks. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Let me just say this. Certainly it's been eye-opening to see this. We've had a mention of the street in 1918, long before we got to this point. We've had a mention of the street in 1800. So obviously the staff did some research on this, and we need to do some additional research because if the street existed in 1918 or it existed in 18 such and such, then obviously this was long before we got to the point where we noticed this notation in the street. And certainly, let's just say Dr. King is fitting of honor in any city, on any street, anywhere in America at any time. And certainly this particular situation that we have here, and we cannot be cognizant and not understanding that a lot of things happened during that time. And certainly, if the street existed in 1918 or existed in 1800, so there's some pre-existing stuff there, and it's actually older than the city indicated that it is. So the public hearing is now closed, as we have indicated, and Councilman Berry, as has indicated, that we need some additional research. And I think that might be fitting at this point is that I make a motion to charge the staff.
Mayor Pro Tem, I have a few more questions from council before you make your motion.
Okay.
I have a few more questions for council. I got one more down here.
Okay, I'll come back to me.
Okay. Councilman Barber.
I actually was going to make a motion, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion.
He was in the middle, so I thought you had a question. But I'm going to allow him to make the motion since he was already making a motion.
No, I indicated that I wanted to make a motion before you opened it up for public hearing. You told me to wait.
Mayor, point of order. This,
Yes, you did. Yes.
no.
Let me.
I would just, point of order, I just want to go ahead and make the motion. I deferred the floor to ask a question. It should come back to me. That's procedural order.
Yes, sir.
So I would like to make a motion to
Mayor.
defer.
Hold on.
Point of order.
Oh, please. Your
I'd
motion.
like to make a motion to defer this to the very next meeting, to give staff the extra time to do the
Point of
due
order.
diligence, to look into it and do everything
Mayor.
that they can. Now, they said that
Point
they
of
have
order.
gone to so many different links, but I want them to go to the nth degree before the next meeting, and then we'll bring this back and we'll reconsider it at that time. Motion made.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Before I call the vote, I do want to say, Council, I really want us to look into this because clearly staff has already said there is no record on the city's base of any recollection of anybody being named after that street. I think it's befitting of this council to make it to where Lee Street remains the same, and we make it necessary because we control the narrative of the city. We go out and put a placard saying this street is named after the very first mayor of this city. We do that recognition and we honor what we already have. However,
He's not the very first mayor.
he's the first mayor. I got the list from the clerk's office. He's the very first mayor, Ari Lee.
I thought we died.
Ari Lee is the very first mayor. If the pavement was not pre-existing, which is, I think, is the question at hand, but there is a motion to table until the next meeting to allow council, to staff, to get more information and bring it back before the council. I have a second. All those in favor, please indicate by the sound of aye. To postpone it to the next meeting. Is there, all those in favor, please indicate by the sound of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I oppose.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'd like to add a comment
Yes,
as to
ma'am.
why. We need a comprehensive plan on how we're going to reimagine